So, I've labored, 10 years, because I had to work part-time as, mostly as a lawyer and then running back and forth, really mostly to Taos to finish the book. It took a long time, and when I finished the book, I knew it wasn't done until people read it, until they were either moved by it or mad at it or just had whatever kind of reactions they had. So this is really the completion of the process of being an artist. It's just, without you, it would just be me sitting here writing, and that's fine, but this is the second part of it. So this is actually the second book that I wrote, but the first book, which I also worked on for about 10 years, that one will remain forever under my bed. So for all intents and purposes, this is my first novel. And as Betty told you, it's about a public defender who is an adrenaline junkie. She has been a public defender for about 12 years in Boulder, Colorado, and she ends up representing in the book a woman who was a battered woman accused of murdering her husband. And Rachel is determined to prove that she acted in self-defense. And it's 1986, so it's a time when the battered women syndrome defense hasn't been actually used in a lot of courts in the country. So this is kind of a first for Colorado. And of course, so the case could change the course of law, but it changes the course of the heroine's life instead. And after the trial is over, she impetuously joins the brigade to Nicaragua, which is mired in a bloody civil war. And somehow that's where she ends up. And at the very end of the novel, she goes to Zihuatanejo, Mexico, and that's where the prologue is written, and that's where the book ends. Betty also, I kind of listed my credentials, so to speak. That's how lawyers talk. Credentials to write the book. I was a criminal defense attorney for 35 years and just stopped being a lawyer in the last year and have segued to a full-time writer in the past year. So I get to write about what I used to do, but I don't have to do it anymore. And my body is very happy with that decision. But I did write this one, as I said, back and forth to Taos, 3, 6 weeks, whatever I could carve out in order to write the book. And I wrote the book also, I wanted to write about being a public defender and being in Nicaragua, because those were two really profound experiences in my life. Probably more than anything else, those were life-changing events. They made me the lawyer that I became. They did change my view of the world, not necessarily for the better. Both going to Nicaragua and being a public defender really did cement my commitment to human rights, and it did. They both, I'd say, both experiences affected my health, also not necessarily for the better. So the book is fiction, and a number of the things that happened in the book did not happen to me, but they could have happened. And so I also refer to the book as, it's definitely fiction, but I also call it an emotionally accurate memoir, because even though some of the things in here did not happen, this is what it did feel like to be a public defender. That's how it felt. And it also, this is also how it felt for me to be in Nicaragua during the 80s, when the Reagan administration was funding the counter-revolutionaries and making everyone's life in Nicaragua really miserable. And it's what it felt like for me to go there those 2 times. And so again, the book is fiction. This is Rachel Stein. This is Jeanne Winer. We're different, but we do have a lot in common. There's a lot of things about Rachel at 35 that are like me, but frankly, I think she's a lot more flawed than I was. But at the same time, I would also have to admit that some of the conclusions that she reaches about the world and about accepting things as they are and not as she wishes they would be, she actually came to some of these conclusions much faster than I did in my own life. So I actually am about 15, 20 years behind Rachel as far as making my own peace with the world and coming to some of the conclusions that she came to about the human condition and learning to let go and to make peace. So there's ways that she's very advanced and then other ways where she's definitely more flawed than I was. The book is divided into to 3 parts. The first part takes place in Boulder, where Rachel is a public defender and representing a bad woman, and that part is called Unsent Letters. No, that part is called The Kind of Case Every Public Defender Was Born For. And the second part of the book takes place in Nicaragua, and that part, where she's joined the brigade, is called Unsent Letters from the Earthquake Capital of the World. And then the third part, which takes place in Zihuatanejo, Mexico, is called Learning to Kayak. So